for the Poles during the World War I, the initial tragedy of the war, was the fact that Poland was divided into three empires, and the war actually engaged Poles fighting against each other, Poles fighting with Poles, Poles in Russian army, Russian Imperial Army, against Poles drafted to German Imperial Army or to Austro-Hungarian Imperial Army. So the fact that there was something like 600,000 mobilized Poles in these three armies. Most of them fought on the Eastern Front, I mean German army and Austro-Hungarian army on one side and Russian army on the other side. Some of the Poles were also fighting in German army against the French. But the main, so to speak, front where Poles killed each other was here in the Eastern Front. The initiative to use this tragedy, this tragical fact of World War I for the Polish benefit was, so to speak, important political issue that was decided first by Józef Piłsudski, the leader of paramilitary groups that wanted to use a relatively liberal political regime under Austrian part of the pre-partitioned Poland in order to prepare Polish military force that would be treated in the development of World War I as an ally for so-called Central Powers, that is for Germans and Austro-Hungarians. And he intended to use this first group of his military fighters as a beginning of huge anti-Russian uprising that would take Warsaw and the majority of Poland under Russian occupation, under Russian partition. His idea began exactly with the very beginning of World War I, here in Kraków, where his first legion was formed in August 1914, and then it was transformed into three legions, fighting along with Austro-Hungarian army against the Russians. So very frequently they fought arm by arm with Hungarian Honveds against Muscovites, against Russians, usually in Galicia or on Transcarpathian front, on the border between Hungary, Great Hungary, so to speak, and Russian Empire.
What is the place of the World War I in the remembrance of Polish people today?
Actually, what is dominant in Polish memory is rather this happy odyssey that began from August 1914 with Piłsudski legionnaires and ends with Polish independence in November 1918. So it is rather this more happy memory than this tragedy from which I began my description of World War I in Polish history.